Welcome to another episode of Anilyze, where I take something otaku related and talk about it. Poco's Udon World is a spiritual successor to Barakamon, featuring transforming raccoon dogs and udon? You'd think that with how the show presents itself, considering the title, and considering one of the main plot points for Sota, the main character, there would be more udon. Like seriously, I expected the show to focus more on the shop, rather than just the dynamic of Poco and Sota. And even at the time of writing this, episode 8, they seriously glossed over one of the main points that still haunts Sota throughout the show. It's a recurring theme that even pops up in Barakamon. But this show is Poco's Udon World. This show's title is about Poco, and it could just be referring to Kagawa, being known for udon, thus his Udon World, but I think there's more to it than just that. The udon store becomes the only thing that Sota has to connect him with his family. It's not so much the nature of inheriting that, or to sustain the tradition, but it's showing your love to your family. This is one of the main themes of the show, family. But again, this is about Poco, so I'll be talking about family based on the information we know about Poco. Furthermore, when Sota walked out on his family's shop, it made him disconnected from his father. He detaches from his family, leaving to Tokyo to do what he wants, and the udon store is left to wither away as Sota flies off. This is another theme, abandonment, and again, I'll be using Poco as my guinea pig. Just like how I usually like things, and looking at the lack of udon in a show named after udon, I like to propose another way of seeing the show. Why not see udon as a symbol for family, and how that also resonates abandonment through Poco? Alright, so let's look back at the title, Poco's Udon World. I still think it's quite a misleading title, but it doesn't become so misleading once udon is replaced with family. It's not so much that Poco is swimming in a lavish udon paradise. After all, Sota doesn't open the store, nor are any of the episodes primarily about udon. But Poco definitely has family now. Sure, I'm referring to the relation of Sota and Poco specifically, and the show again does a good job in organizing these relations in terms of development. But it's important to remember that this is Poco's show. But we don't see much of Poco, do we? I mean, we know all about Sota and his problems with disregarding his father's wishes and leaving the shop to rot. But what about Poco? He can speak rudimentary Japanese, but he doesn't talk much about himself to Sota, except we do know a lot about Poco. From the very first episode, the priest tells Sota that Tanuki has been rumored in the area. We can glean that Poco is that Tanuki, but he also tells us that it's an old Tanuki, one that surely has been around for years and years. He's also a shape-shifting Tanuki, that so happens to take the shape of a small child. So what does this mean? Before Sota's coming back, we know that Poco made shop in Kagawa. Whether he has always been there since his lifetime, or if he just so happened to move there and catch the attention of the priest is still in the air. Either way, he's surely had contact with humans before. He's been around for a few years, and maybe he even found solace within another family before Sota. Taking my understanding of Tanuki shapeshifting from other anime, you're gonna have to be able to see it first before you can shapeshift into something. We can guess that Poco's lived, or at least has interacted with human children, to the point where he can mimic it. We could also guess that Poco's long time with them has given him the ability to at least understand some Japanese, and have a very basic level of speaking, or at least mimicry. That covers the basis of Poco's appearance in the show. He probably observed humans in his long life to be able to mimic human behavior and language, sure, but how does he find himself in the hands of Sota? If Poco just found shop in Kagawa, or if his previous family had died and he had been wandering around as a thief in the fields, then it makes sense for him to be rummaging around an abandoned udon shop. He'd have at least some understanding of human structures, and sneaks his way in. Once Sota finds them and they become more or less family, the show literally becomes Poco's Udon World. It's his world filled with family. The show becomes a show about Poco's integration with his new family, and in essence shaping the world around him to accommodate for his new family. Poco, in the same sense, also learns to live more like human. Despite the fact that he may have observed humans in the past, or may have even lived among them, we can guess that there's been at least some gap. He picks up on some Japanese really quickly, but he doesn't exactly start from scratch. He learns behaviors and rules set out by Sota, but he still acts like a child, almost as if he's emulating childlike behaviors that he's seen before. Poco is a Tanuki after all, and I like to think that we have a dichotomy with raccoon dogs. But I'd also like to think that the udon store still serves as something more than a symbol of family. And accounting for Poco, I'd say that the udon store is also a Stockholm for abandonment. The udon store was abandoned by Sota, and likewise I'd say that Poco had been abandoned by some human family in some time in his life before meeting Sota. Poco warms up to Sota, but that's because he was shown care and given food and protection. There was mutual respect right from the start, and Poco allowed himself to shape his world around Sota. Whenever Poco meets someone new, he's always scared, reluctant, and he hides behind Sota. He's reluctant towards every person and has to warm up to him slowly. I'd say that Poco grew a distaste for humans sometime before the start of the show, and has only regained that trust through Sota's action and care. Considering his curious nature, perhaps it was Poco who had abandoned his previous friend or family, and they had never found them, and he only took it as if he was abandoned by them, not the other way around. Either way, at one point, Poco had been left completely isolated. He was alone, just like the priest said. It must have been pretty lonely if Poco had been living all these years, and if he had never met any actual human. He, just like the store, had no one to care for him, no family love, it was just Poco. And he had to make means of the world somehow. Perhaps this relates to what the priest mentions also as of Tanuki who bewitches those he passes by. What if this is a result of his loneliness, his desperation to find humans and to interact with them again? But that doesn't bode well. We find him alone, in the udon store cuddling, bag of wheat, unprocessed food, left abandoned just as he's not bewitching anyone. Instead of a world shaped by family, Poco lived in a world shaped by abandonment, Poco's abandoned world. But despite the fact that this is Poco's world, and despite the fact that he had been abandoned, he was found, and his world inevitably revolves around Sota. It's with care that these themes of family and abandonment are brought together along with Sota. Going over family, Poco shapes the world around him through family, mainly in Sota. He gets a familial security with Sota, and is highly attached to him. In the same way, Sota learns again how to have a family. He's lost that at first from leaving his father's udon shop, but we can say that this is his way of showing retribution. He's going to make right this time with Poco and take care of him, unlike with what he did with the shop. This turns into Poco's family road, as everything around him all permeates this familial energy. And again, this can also be his abandoned road, but more so for Sota. Sota has been doing a good job leaving things throughout the show. He left the shop, he left his work, he came back to it, but then he left his work for a second time, and he's left Poco. And most of all, he's left the countryside. Sota's character starts revolving around all the things he's left, and Poco, who has been left, finds himself interlinking with someone who's just tired of leaving things. We can see that Sota just wants to settle down, and makes amends with the things in his past. He remarks often about just staying in the countryside, of doing his job remotely, but to also take care of Poco. He's found in his abandoned world, a world of family. Even if this family is artificial, Sota will grasp onto it, and so will Poco. They're both true tired people in a tired world, and this show does an amazing job in showing us that bright side. And that was Anilyze. I hope you found this somewhat interesting, or maybe disagree with me fully. Either way, if you watched till the end, then something must have caught your attention, and if I have your attention, then I'll have to turn your eyes towards our other otaku related content on this channel, such as our podcast or our news show. So definitely check those out if you're interested. We're definitely going to be posting a lot more, and I hope to see you guys in the next thing that I analyze.